What is your major?
I'm a theoretical math major.
My major is physics.
I'm majoring in integrative physiology.
Do you plan on getting an education beyond a bachelor's degree?
Yes, I plan to go to physical therapy school. I need a doctorate for that.
Yeah, I plan to get my doctorate. Do you consider yourself to be feminine?
I definitely can be feminine. I would say I'm not the girliest of all girls.
I feel like I have times when I feel like I'm more feminine and times when I feel less feminine.
Yeah, I would consider myself more on the girly side.
Do you ever feel like you can't be smart and girly at the same time?
Like a lot of times when I tell people that I'm an astrophysics major, like the reaction from them is kind of like alluding to that they're shocked and they just weren't expecting that because of how I come off to people.
Society has this expectation where girls and women need to focus on being pretty all the time and girly to separate themselves as women. I feel like society has an expectation that you can't always be both. Like you need to have two personas.
I feel like it's just part of being a woman in a STEM field. Like there's an expectation that if you're in that kind of a field that you assume more of a masculine role. Women are trying to have their identity as a woman, but then also their identity as an academic, and a lot of times that is kind of like two separate identities and you can't really merge that into one identity that describes you.
Has anyone ever made you feel like you can't accomplish everything you want because you are feminine?
Well, I mean, usually that's like an almost everyday kind of a situation where men judge you because you are feminine and they assume that you can't be as smart as they are because you're a woman.
Do you ever feel like society makes us think that only tomboys are the smart girls?
I feel like it does a really good job of that because as women we're supposed to act very feminine, but in order to achieve anything, it's like you have to lose that part of you.
Society thinks that tomboys are the smart girls just because they're not expecting them to have other qualities. Like, if they're not super girly, then they're probably super smart. And if they're girly, then they're not super smart.
Can you be nerdy and girly at the same time?
I think you can. I think society doesn't think that we can, though.
Yeah, I think you can be nerdy and girly at the same time.
Do you feel pressured to act less feminine to prove your intelligence?
I think it's something that a lot of women who want to be successful just kind of do naturally.
Sometimes in group settings, when you're working on a project or something and you're in a group of like all dudes and stuff, you have to like act a little different to be taken seriously.
I'm just more aware of the fact in certain educational environments that I am a woman and that men are sometimes assumed to be better at certain things like in science and math. How are you treated by people in your classes?
The women have a lot of respect for each other because we're all achieving at a very high level and we know what it takes to get to that level.
Are you treated differently by boys in your classes than by girls?
Most of my classes are all boys. A lot of my classes it's competitive, so like the second you slip up, they kind of like lose a little respect for you.
It's like you just can never mess up.
Society makes us think that men are the smart ones. Do you feel like you constantly have to prove yourself? You always have to prove yourself. I mean, not necessarily just as a girl, but just like you have to prove yourself as who you are. And like, you know, being at college right now, you have to prove like, oh, I'm here for a purpose. Do you feel like you have to conceal your body to be taken seriously?
I generally tend to try to hide my body because I feel like you get judged based on how you look. I try to make myself look more masculine just kind of to try and fit in.
Society, I think, expects you to be covered up to be taken professionally and seriously. Do you think you have more power being female in STEM than you would being a male?
I think it's positive that you can inspire other people and kind of start to challenge social norms about like that there's still kind of a men's field or that it still is something that you can only do if you are masculine.
You like know that you worked hard enough to get to a certain situation where maybe it's less common for women to be.